Starting for tax year 2025, some of your qualified overtime premium is now deductible on your federal tax return. The question is that listed out separately on your W-2, or is there something that you need to do in order to get this deduction? I've got those surprising rules for your 2025 taxes. That and more coming up. Of course, we know that the no tax on Social Security, no tax on tips, and no tax on overtime, while those were the campaign trail sort of promises, that's not what we got, right? Each of those has a huge asterisk next to it, and rules apply, and you gotta, it's not as simple as it sounds. That said, I'll take more deductions, and if you qualify for any of these, you wanna make sure that you optimize, right? You get the deduction, and that you optimize the use of that deduction while it's around. Specifically for the no tax on Social Security, we know that that's not true. It's a senior deduction. It's $6,000 per person. Your adjusted gross income needs to be below certain levels. So you want to make sure that you get all of that if you're eligible, and then you optimize it and you have that infused in your tax planning. Now, for the no tax on overtime, okay, on overtime, for that sounds great, and I wish that were true. That's not exactly what was passed. Here's the rule, okay? It's no federal tax on the overtime premium up to a certain limit, as long as your income's below a certain level. I think I got that right. It's totally not understandable, but it's just the overtime premium, okay? So I'll hit that first. If you are working overtime and you're getting paid time and a half, it's just the half, unfortunately. So for example, say you make, $20 an hour and you're working overtime, so time and a half, meaning for that overtime hour you're making $30. It's only the 10. It's only the 10 that is the deductible portion on your federal tax return, okay? So that's one item. The second is it's only federal taxes that this is a deduction on, not state taxes, and also not FICA taxes, the 7.65%, a portion going to Social Security, a portion going to Medicare. That, it's not a deduction from that. You still have to pay those taxes. Is it all of your overtime? That's sort of the third catch. And no, it's not all your overtime. It's up to $12,500 of eligible overtime per person, okay, per person. So $25,000 married, filing jointly. And then that last sort of wrinkle is, yeah, but your income needs to be below certain thresholds. And what is that? Modified adjusted gross income below $150,000 individual, $300,000 married, filing jointly. That's really the rule, okay? That's the rule. And oh, by the way, this is only temporary. It's around for the 2025 tax year, 2026, 27, and 28 tax years. So the 2025 tax year, you're about to prepare that return. I'm recording this at the end of January in 2026. And so, yeah, this is going to apply for your 2025 taxes. So they took something simple, a very simple idea. They couldn't pass what was simple, and it's now very, very complicated. At least tell me that it's really going to be simple to get this deduction, right? Wrong. Not for 2025. So starting in 2026, it is going to be required that this eligible or qualifying overtime is listed out on your W-2. And it's listed out, it's going to be a separate box. I believe it's going to be box 14. There's going to be a separate code, and it's going to say this is how much is the eligible overtime, and therefore input that in your taxes to get the deduction. That is optional for your W-2 in 2025. I repeat, having this qualifying overtime amount on your W-2 for 2025 so that you can get the deduction is optional. And what we are seeing is only some of the major big employers are actually putting it on the W-2. The rest of them are saying, nah, we're not doing that yet. We're not doing that yet. And therefore, that means it's now up to you. This now just made your taxes more complicated. I'm not complaining because it is a deduction, and so I guess that's good. But if you're not aware, and if you're not proactive, and if you're not planning, you're going to miss it. So here's what you need to do right now. Is you've probably gotten the email or been notified already. You can go get your W-2. If you worked overtime in 2025, you're going to want to take a look at your W-2. So many people just take their W-2, don't even open it, and put it in the I'll give this to my CPA file. Or I'll open this when I go to do my tax return and I don't really want to do it. No. If you worked overtime in 2025, open your W-2. Just take a peek. Take a look and see if anything is listed out for overtime pay. If not, and again, you work some overtime, then what you need to do, and this is what we're asking all of our clients, go into wherever you get your pay stubs from. Hopefully that's online. If it's not online, hopefully you keep track of them, and go to find your last pay stub for 2025. In that last pay stub, it should have year-to-date amounts and all that sort of stuff, and it should list out your year-to-date overtime on that last pay stub. If so, include that last pay stub with your W-2, and you've done most of the work. You've done most of the work, because then your CPA or your CFP, who's ever preparing your return, will then need to ask you, hey, for that overtime, was it time and a half? Was any of it 2 times? Blah, blah, blah. And if it's time and a half, right, or double time, like there's gonna need to be some calculations. Let's just keep it simple. If it's time and a half, then your certified financial planner, your CPA, whoever's doing your taxes, is going to need to do a manual calculation of 1/3 times that overtime amount. And the 1/3 meaning, because again, you only get to deduct the overtime premium amount. Again, going back to that example, say you make $20 an hour, you work time and a half for an hour. So for that 1 hour, you got paid $30 for that hour. So $30 times 1/3 is the $10 of actual overtime premium. And as frustrating as that sounds, that's the only amount you're allowed to deduct. So you need to do a reasonable calculation on this to confirm that you're using the right amount, and that's the amount that you'd put in as the deduction. Where does the deduction go? It's going to go on Schedule 1. This is your other income and other adjustments to income, okay? And so it's going to be listed in there, and it's going to be a little bit hidden, but that's where you'll get the deduction for tax years 25 and the next few years until this thing expires. So that is how it's going to work in 2025. The plan is, and hopefully in 2026, or for your 26 tax return you do in 2027, that it's going to be updated on all of the W-2s, and it's going to require, less work in order for you to make sure that you get the deduction. And really, then it's just you need to optimize it, and you need to infuse this into your planning. But for right now, in 2026, for your 2025 tax return, if you are getting eligible overtime, if you got eligible overtime, you know someone that did, make sure that you tell them you've got to take some steps here. You cannot put it on autopilot and just assume, yeah, I will get the deduction because that's law now. No. You have to take some action. And again, guys, this sort of fits in with this whole narrative of taxes have gotten far more complicated over the past 6 years because of all the tax law changes. You can't just sort of go on autopilot. You need to be proactive with your tax picture, working with your certified financial planner so that you make sure you capture all of the right tax planning opportunities and then optimize them by taking full advantage or parlaying that with another tax planning strategy like shifting to Roth conversions, capital gain harvesting, all that sort of stuff. You got to work with your CFP on that. If you don't have a CFP on your team, you can contact one on my team. Find us online, Korhorn.com. That's Korhorn with K. WiseMoneyShow.com. You can find us there as well, or give us a call, 574-247-5898. All right, there you have it. Go out and take your next wise step in your financial life.